will be on the statements that were made by the Inspector General, Koome. He denied about the police brutality during the protests. He even went ahead to assert that Azimio la Umoja is hiring dead bodies and trying to paint a bad picture to the government and towards the police force. So as IPOA, did you investigate into this matter? Did you find out whether these people were dead? Were they really hired? Or were they really killed? So what's your take on that? Question number 2, we have also noticed as Kenyans that there is the raiding and sometimes kidnapping of certain high-profile individuals in broad daylight. IPOA, do you have anything to say about that? Thank you.
And now to just make my comments. But one of the reasons I really want IPOA to work is, you remember I was a commissioner in KCHR. And I remember walking into the late Saitoti's office and asking him to ensure that there's a policing oversight authority. In fact, this bill, the draft came actually from the Commission on Human Rights. I used to do policing oversight within the security sector reforms program, and I realized the scale and magnitude. So my first question to you, Anne, 10 years on, what are the deficiencies? Because definitely there are deficiencies, particularly within the Act. The anchorage in law or in the Constitution is one. We try to find place for IPOA within Article 59 of the Constitution so that we can upload, because it says that through that you can create more than one commission. But I think we were not able to necessarily locate it within the Article 59 commissions. I do agree, but what else do you think needs to be done in terms of legal reforms of the IPOA Act to upscale it to that extent where it is effective? 2, the president came under the promise that there will be no extrajudicial killings. And I do still believe that that is the position. The justification would only be what is contained in the National Police Act on the use of force as measurable and directly proportional to the loss of the lives of others. So I do hope you will respond to some of those queries by Opio on the basis that response to the realm of the rule of law. I do not think the Kenya Kwanza government is in any way in support of an errant police force, a rogue police, or a regime police. But the second last question, the whole idea of police reforms, and you're supposed to be the police auditor. You're like an audit firm for the police, not only in terms of its accountability, but in terms of tracking its reforms, unless that mandate is not assumed in that act. The whole idea about police reforms was to move us away from a regime police to a democratic policing service. In your assessment, I can see very eminent people here, lawyers, doctors, social scientists. What do you think, how much progress would you say we have made from the advent of the 2010 Constitution to move ourselves away from a regime police to a policing service? And in that event, what more is required in terms of legislative, structural, or policy reforms? And lastly, the whole idea of also these shifts, there was the whole idea of police reforms or security sector reforms was premised on the fact that we needed to move away from the securitization of our democracy, that paradigm, to the democratization of our security. We move away from the securitization of our democracy, kwamba kila kitu ni serikali, matter of national security. In fact, there was a Director General of the INIS who tried to insert a clause to limit the Bill of Rights to national security. We discovered it at some point. So, at that time when we were voting the 2010 Constitution. So, in other words, human rights is not limited in the purview solely of national security. there are limitations that are created by the Constitution itself. So we wanted to move ourselves to the democratization of our security. The democratization of our security means people should be engaged more engaged in participation of our security apparatus. So the question will be, do you think this police service is doing enough in terms of democratization of our security outside these conventional things of nyumba kumi sijui and vitu kama hizo, or DCs and DOs and chiefs and so whatnot? Is there been sufficient shift in terms of the paradigm? But finally to Opio and I think we will really expect an